Good morning and welcome to Member Focus Monday. I'm Christina Schaefer, Director of Social Media for HAR, and we're very excited this morning to wrap up Realtor Safety Month, if you will, with Harris County Sheriff Ed Gonzalez. Welcome to the program, Sheriff Gonzalez.
Thank you so much, Christine. It's great to be with you and everyone else that's tuning in.
Thank you so much. So September, if you don't know, is Realtor Safety Month. So we have some questions for you about realtor safety, obviously specifically, but also just general what's going on in Harris County, and we love to get updates from people like you. So we're really excited to have you on the program this morning. Sheriff Gonzalez, you've served the Houston and surrounding areas in different capacities for many years. What lessons have you learned during that time, and how do you bring those lessons to your work with Harris County?
Well, thank you so much. Yes, I've had the unique opportunity to serve in different roles. For me, I started my professional career with the Houston Police Department. Like many others, I wanted to help others. I grew up in a home here in Houston in the Greater Heights area. My father couldn't read and write, and to me, I wanted to be able to help others. And so it really inspired me to seek a work in public service. I began a long career with the Houston Police Department, where I was a hostage negotiator. I worked as a homicide detective. I worked patrol. I worked in the domestic violence unit. So gained a lot of perspective there. I wanted to use that experience to be able to also focus on public policy. I knew that I wanted to see more of the policy work instead of just arresting people and seeing them coming back out. I wanted to help shape public policy, so I ran for Houston City Council, where I represented District H, and I was also Mayor Pro Tem. Uh, District H is mainly kind of the east end of downtown, as well as up north, going into the Heights, Independence Heights, um, Lindale Park, a lot of those communities going up north. Then later on in 2016, I ran for Harris County Sheriff, becoming the 30th sheriff to be elected to Harris County, and it's been a tremendous ride. It's the largest sheriff's office in the state of Texas. We're the third largest in the country, and I'm able to bridge both things that I'm very passionate about: law enforcement and also public policy. So, been on this job for 5.5 years. I love serving this community. It's my hometown, and I want to see our greater Houston area continue to thrive and be a place that people want to come to, that people want to live, a place that's safe. I know
Mhm.
that's always on everyone's mind. I've worked over the years. I've worked with HR quite a bit, especially during my time on City Council, and have attended events in the past. So very big fan of HAR and all the
Mhm.
agents and brokers and everyone that makes up the great team at HAR.
Yes, you've been a longtime friend of HAR, and we truly appreciate that and our partnership with you. So you mentioned crime. Obviously, that's always going to be a hot topic whenever we talk with you. But we've heard some mixed reports about the crime rates in Harris County. So, kind of wanted to allow you the time to give us the truth here. What are you seeing in regards to crime rates? Are they going up? Or are they going down? And what are some of the most common crimes that we're seeing right now?
Yes, I think looking at it at a high level, sadly, they are going up. I don't think it's necessarily something unique to Harris County. I think, it's been well reported that especially after COVID, we saw an uptick in crime around the country in different areas. There's no unique uh, jurisdiction, if you will. I think the most concerning is always murders, and it is up in unincorporated Harris County as well as in the city of Houston proper. We're made up of many different jurisdictions. I think it's important to know we have so many different police agencies in this area. Houston, for example, is more directly serviced by the Houston Police Department. Our area of responsibility, in addition to running the jail, we also cover unincorporated Harris County. It's a lot of those communities that don't
Mhm.
have their own municipalities. We stretch from far Katy area all the way to the east to some of the greater Baytown areas, Crosby up north, Huffman, all those areas.
Mhm.
Unincorporated Harris County has more than 2 million people living it, just as much as the city of Houston does itself. So I think that the area of murder, I think our biggest driver is domestic violence.
Mhm.
Sadly, those are very troubling situations, and it's one that's very difficult for law enforcement to really prevent, if you will, because those are family dynamics. Sometimes it's hard for us to be there when the situation becomes more volatile. And so that's something that we really need the public's help to become involved, be aware if you have a coworker or you yourself may be in a situation that is starting to escalate, to seek resources. There's a lot of great community partners out there that focus on this issue, that issue. Some of it is also gang related, just gang member against gang member, and about turf and just the illegal activity that takes place amongst them. Sometimes it may be lifestyle related. It's related to, again, someone trying to purchase drugs, or someone sells someone some bad drugs and things like that. So it's a variety, but there's also random crime, and there's one of the other areas that we're seeing is the uptick on, as we've heard, catalytic converter thefts. It's become very lucrative, so people's vehicles are becoming stolen. I mean, I mean, they're not even stealing the vehicle anymore. They'll just take the catalytic converter because it's so lucrative, and they'll sell that apparatus. And so it's something that we're trying to really double down on and make sure that we're preventing as much as we can. We simply can't keep up with it because it's so lucrative. We also need state law to change to catch up with the crime and make it a crime to possess it if you're stealing catalytic converters. And we lost one of our deputies, in fact, because uh, as he was walking out of a store, he caught someone in the act of stealing his catalytic converter. And we're also seeing road rage. And I know a lot of your agents, are traversing the county and city from place to place, and maybe on the phone and maybe distracted. And so we do see a high number of crashes. And we see also that people are becoming much more irate and turning to weapons many times, and just beyond the ones that catch the news where somebody actually got injured, we also see a high number where someone just pointed a gun at someone. And so that could be very troubling. That seems to be on the uptick as well. So that's kind of a snapshot. I do want to say that as concerning as crime is, and we should, obviously, a lot of the issues that play into that regarding court backlogs and other things have been well documented. I think it's also important to know that law enforcement here is working collaboratively amongst all those many different agencies. We're trying to lead a lot of proactive efforts to reduce crime as best we can. We are seeing some success in some areas. And so, but we all have to stay vigilant more than ever. We need everyone to know situational awareness, not be on the phone or looking down if they're coming out of stores. Obviously, safety for realtors is very important. That tends to be more predatory in nature. And maybe we can get into that as we go along this morning.
So you mentioned the pandemic. Do you have crime rates gone up since the pandemic? Is that kind of the trend you're seeing?
Yes, for sure. Again, I'm not one to just simply say the pandemic caused this automatically. I think one of the things that I think it did was, and many may not understand, and believe it or not, we're still feeling the impacts of that, is even Hurricane Harvey. I know it was so long ago, 2017, but it made an impact on our court system because the court systems really got shut down because of the damage to the physical infrastructure around the courts and people being without homes and things like that. So things got delayed. And so we had already started to see an uptick in cases being backlogged. Well, then COVID comes around years later. That just exacerbates it even more because now court shut down and other things happen. So you're seeing longer delays with people actually being seeing their day in court. It delays justice. It delays accountability, and that's something we want. We want people to respect property. We want people to respect others, and so those are definitely factors I think that play into our crime rate, not exclusively. But specific to the question, it does seem to correlate after COVID kind of took root. And so we have seen more of that. And I think hopefully now things have leveled off, and we could get to some better sense of normalcy. But it's a never ending job, and one that we all have to stay vigilant. And I think that now, unfortunately, it's something we have to make sure we're combating against. There seems to be a perception. I think there's always been yeah, we know there's crimes in community, but now people genuinely feel afraid that it could happen to them, that they're not necessarily safe anywhere. And we've seen obviously attacks in all kinds of places, from movie
Right.
theaters to, friendly Fourth of July parades like we saw in Illinois. So no place seems to be immune from crime these days, sadly.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Well, I mentioned at the top of the show that September is Realtor Safety Month. From your perspective, what's one thing a realtor could do to make sure they're being as safe as possible, especially when they're meeting with someone for the first time, a prospective client?
Yes, I think there's again a combination of things, but I think primarily our experience and just kind of understanding the industry a little bit has been that many of the attacks on realtors tend to be more predatory in nature, meaning
Mm-hmm.
that they're specifically targeting a realtor. It's not as much again a random opportunistic crime like what I mean, like I said about catalytic converters. You park your car somewhere, you're going to a
Mm-hmm.
movie, it got stolen. They're looking for just that catalytic converter. With realtors, because you're such public facing a profession, pictures are out there, information's out there. It's really to gain you have to advertise when you're going to have an open house.
Mm-hmm.
And so these predators are really looking for people that may have their guard down. And I think it's important that many times historically we have to combat that. There's a misconception that it's a woman's problem. It's just women
Mm-hmm.
will be the only, men get attacked as well. There's been a number of incidents across the country that also focus on men, or that it maybe is just a smaller person that's
Mm-hmm.
perhaps more vulnerable. These predators will focus on anyone they're looking to catch someone in an isolated situation. I think in the initial information, it's very important to ask as many questions as you can. Make sure you ask probing questions instead of, "Oh, I'm glad you're interested. Let's go plan a site visit."
Mm-hmm.
Ask what interests you about the house. What kind of home are you looking for? What do you like about the neighborhood? Get them to talk. Get
Mm-hmm.
them to see how sincere they are, because most of these folks just want to kind of get to what they have in mind and not necessarily be wanting to talk a lot. If you could plan an office visit, that's great, and introduce them to some of your coworkers. Again, these individuals want less and less attention. They don't want to be exposed as much.
Right.
As much information as you can collect up front, and perhaps any kind of screening document that you provide, the more you can have, the better it is. Make sure you're checking those, verifying those addresses either through MapQuest or something, that it's a legit address.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure that you're getting a good name and information, and all that's very helpful. I think that I know it's very difficult in this modern age of social media, and we're all on Instagram and Twitter and everything, to kind of be more discreet with our profiles. But to the extent that we could limit some of our
Mm-hmm.
personal information as far as our own, real time, this is where I'm at, or I'm traveling out of the city, or whatever. Or maybe sometimes just include in some of the videos, hey, I'm here, and so I'm at this house. Here's agent so and so with me, and because it sets that perception that, oh, she may not be alone, or he may not be alone when they're showing a house. There's somebody with
Mm-hmm.
them, even if there's not, to let them know like that you may be there with someone at a house showing.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and again, the more you could limit some of your personal information, maybe using a first initial and your last name, that would be helpful, because nowadays people will research, find you, locate information about you. These are just some initial
Mm-hmm.
things to kind of think about. This is before the actual open house or the site visit at a residence.
Okay, those are some great suggestions. Thank you for that. So, this question was actually sent to me in advance by someone who really wanted to know what happens if a realtor, let's say, shows up to a property and the property is supposed to be vacant, but there is somebody already inside. What should they do? And is there a specific hotline or number that they should be calling in those circumstances?
I think if something like that, to me, it would be a red flag. If there's an understanding the house should be open, it could have been a miscommunication with the owner,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe it's somebody that's gained entry, illegally, through some back door or something that was left open, and so that would be a red flag for me. I think that, obviously at that point, if there could be any contact with the homeowner or the point of contact to find out if there was again that miscommunication, that might be
Mm-hmm.
helpful. Otherwise, it's important to just notify the authorities and ask for a unit to go out there, that there's some suspicious activity inside the home, that it's supposed to be vacant, and that you'd like to maybe request for a unit to get out there. If it's nothing imminent, then you could always call the direct number to the police where you're at, if you happen to know. And it's
Mm-hmm.
sometimes challenging, because here we have so many police jurisdictions, I mean,
Hmm.
agencies,
Hmm.
but if not, even if you just have to call 911 and just report it, I think it's best. But I think I would be very cautious unless you're with someone
Hmm.
that that you could go and inquire. That would be helpful. Or maybe even checking with a neighbor if you need to, like, hey, do you know if somebody's supposed to be inside the home? I know it's kind of awkward sometimes, and we tend to operate very independently. But again, these are red flags, and it's better to be cautious before something happens than to be caught off guard once you've knocked on the door and somebody could just drag you inside or something like that, and you don't know how many people may be inside the home.
Right. Now, what if you come upon a situation where there may be squatters? Again, is that a 911 call, as you just mentioned, or is there maybe a more specific department that realtors should reach out to, or even other consumers? Maybe it's a neighbor notices a squatter.
Yeah, if you know that it's a squatter situation, it's something where, again, depending on how much time is available, we do have resources. We work on squatters all the time. Traditionally, more on like outdoor encampments that are created outside in the
Mm.
neighborhood itself, not so
Hmm.
much inside a home. But sometimes you do have squatters that come on board, and at that point, again, if it's something where it's like an ongoing issue, or you find out that there's a house that you've got on the market and squatters are coming in and out, then that might be more of a way to deal directly with our teams that we do have available to assist. We have a homeless outreach team. I know the Houston Police Department also has one. We could go then and investigate and
Hmm.
see if people are supposed to be there, what are they doing, and make sure that we issue them a no trespass warning, get them relocated out of the residence, and then also find out how they're gaining access to the property. But all these are things that you should do. If it's something where you're just coming in, and you need, again, help, 911 is always the best option.
Hmm.
If you ever find yourself in any type of trouble, I also want to say that in unincorporated Harris County, we do have the ability to text 911 as well. If you're ever in a showing or something and you're not able to pick up and just call, then you could say, "Oh, let me just get with someone real quick," or "I've got to return a message," and just you could text 911, give them the address, tell them, "I'm in a home. I'm afraid someone's here acting suspicious," and you could also text. To request dispatch instead of verbally making the call.
That's wonderful. I didn't know we could do that. So,
Yes.
yeah, excellent option there. So, what are sorry, wanted to make sure that we can get to everything here. And I should mention also to our members that are watching, if you have questions for Sheriff Gonzalez, please type those in and we will get to as many as we can. You mentioned earlier, Sheriff Gonzalez, that realtors have their information everywhere. They have their phone numbers on billboards, right? They have them on the side of their car. What would you recommend that they do if they receive a threatening or a harassing phone call or text?
I would say that it's something to definitely report.
Hmm.
I think it's always best. Now, you just get it one time, and sometimes it's just best to say, "Look, this isn't business related," or "I'm asking you to please stop." If it's something that obviously continues again or anything like that, then absolutely for sure report it. If it's just a one time thing, and I mean, again, go with your gut feeling on it. But if it sounds concerning, it's better to have it documented. Make sure you share that information with someone, a colleague or someone, should anything happen. And then, but it's always definitely a room for concern if you start getting messages like that. In our work, not exclusive to just agents, but in others, we do have a number of stalking situations that do develop, and your agents are very high profile people.
Hmm.
We obviously want to put our best photos out there and things like that. And there's some sick people out there. I hate to say it.
Hmm.
And we have a lot of people that are combating mental illness and addiction. And not to say that any of those are necessarily prone to criminality. But what I'm saying is there's people that sometimes their sense of reality is not, you know, grounded in reality. And so I think it's important to make sure it's being documented. Always create a paper trail. Don't just delete the messages and things like that, because if things do escalate, then we are able to perhaps pursue a stalking type of criminal investigation and maybe pursue charges on the person. A lot of times we do have do some threat assessment, if you will, where we could kind of assess the level of threat of who this perpetrator may be. Is it just a somebody that's just not really has the means or capacity to carry out a threat, but
Mhm.
some do. And then we want to make sure that we're smart in our approach to that, because it could become complicated if the person sees that law enforcement got involved, but we really couldn't do anything because it falls within a gray area. Sometimes it just emboldens them even more, because they're like, whoa, okay, well, I could get this far and not get arrested. I'll just continue to do that. And then they'll continue to raise the bar a little bit.
Mhm.
But those are always concerning, and so it's better to document it, try to file a police report, even just keep records of it, things like that, just to make sure that, and also even inside the homes that you're showing, make sure that, I know when you're staging a home and things like that, make sure that the homeowner, if possible, doesn't have a lot of identifying type information with certificates and things like that, that somebody could pursue identity theft as well. We
Mhm.
see a lot of people targeted that way as well. So these
Mhm.
are things you could advise your clients as well, just to make sure when they're staging a home that they remove some of those things, because nowadays they'll steal anybody's name. They'll obviously know their address. Now they'll have their full name. That starts becoming to have the building blocks to be able to extort or commit fraud.
Wonderful. So you've mentioned this a few times that, realtors tend to be targets for criminals. So what are some things that realtors can do to prevent becoming a target for a criminal?
Yes, again, I think it's all about situational awareness. I think the more you can be empowered to know that you're in control of the situation, and that, as you know, look, there's always things that could happen at moment's notice, but as long as we and you, again, are trying to mitigate as many of the factors that could lead to you becoming a potential victim, the better it is. And it comes with situational awareness. It comes with knowing that, look, I am in a high profile profession. I do have to be out there. I know that at times, I'm have to have open houses. I know that many times it could be, offenders, it could be predators, it could
Hmm.
be attackers, all kinds of people that could be the ones coming. Make sure that you know the community that you're going to. Some, have a lot of winding roads and things like that. Make sure that when you get there, don't park in the driveway, for example. Make sure you park street level, and if you can, point in the direction of a location that you know that you can quickly go that way. Because if something happens and you need to flee, you don't want, the less you have to worry about and think, and you can keep a clear head, the better chance of survival. So you're trying to figure out, wait a minute, there's a dead end that way, but you're
Hmm.
parked heading that way. Now you got to turn. You don't want to be in that type of situation. The more, again, you can control, the better it is. I know we always want to put, our Sunday's best, if you will, in terms of our attire. We all have brands that we want to maintain, but to the extent possible that you could dress comfortable, especially shoes and things like that, because sometimes if you need to run, you're going to have to run, and make sure that you do have that ability to do that. If you get that those spider senses that say that something is off, make sure you um, don't abandon that feeling. Maybe say, we're going to have to cut the visit a little bit short, because unfortunately the homeowners are going to be returning a little bit shorter. Quicker.
Hmm.
Just to see how they respond. Make sure you're opening all the windows to the extent possible, or the shades at least, while you're showing that you don't close the front door behind you. It might seem so little, but make sure you don't trust blindly, that you're not leading the way and having them behind you, and then they get you caught in a corner, especially if they're going upstairs. The more you could stay in a position of knowing where an exit is, or that you could make a quick run from it, the better. Sometimes it's about just getting out of our comfort zone. I know we want to do every attention to detail and show every single thing, but sometimes for your safety, especially if you're alone, if you're with somebody else, that's another thing. If somebody could accompany you, even for a part of the time, that's a good thing. Make sure everybody knows your home address. The address you're at and the time of the
Hmm.
showing. So if anything were to happen, make sure that even if you need to call it into an office, even if it's closed, but you left that voicemail, so should anything happen, that somebody would be able to hear that voicemail and know where you were at what time. That to the extent possible that you could, again, back to not following you. If they need to go in and see rooms or whatever while you stay out in the hallway, that might be a better approach. These some of these things might seem so minor, but you'd be surprised. Somebody will panic, and if you do carry some type of weapon with you, make sure that you're proficient at it. Don't just leave it,
Hmm.
in a bag full of stuff, and you're trying to go through it very quickly. Again, the more you could minimize um, additional barriers to having to take some action, the better it is. I know self-defense classes are always something that doesn't hurt to take them. Back to what I said, even beyond just the own profession, there are a lot of other crimes that could occur in the community. The more you can empower yourself to be aware and to have that one thing that we always encourage people, you should always be thinking of an exit plan, always be
Hmm.
thinking of how would I respond to this? Like map it out in your head a little bit and have that survivor's mentality as well, that you will not go down, you will not just give in, that you've got a plan, how you would respond if something were to happen to you, because too often people get flat-footed, get surprised or shocked, and it's that, oh, it'll never happen to me, or I know how to take care of myself. I've heard stories of realtors that were military veterans, that were men that became victims of robbery, and so we can never believe that it won't happen to us. And again, especially in vulnerable moments such as an open house where
Hmm.
people are coming in randomly, that's where your alertness needs to be magnified.
Absolutely. Great suggestions. Thank you. Thank you for that. We had some clarifications about the 911 texting, and we did share a link in the comments. But for anyone who missed it, Sheriff Gonzalez, if you could tell us with the 911 texting, first of all, what is the number? Do we just text 911? And also, is it important to go ahead and give the address that they're at in the text message, or does that show up does it track it?
It is important for you to give the address, especially sometimes there are connectivity issues, or it may bounce off another tower, and so it may
Mm-hmm.
not be able to track it, directly. So it's best to give it as well. I think I'll need to verify, and we could probably send you the information via email after this, just as a follow up, just to see what jurisdictions in this area have access to that 911 function.
Okay.
So the other thing too, back to another tip, is make sure that when you're showing a home that your phone actually works in
Mm-hmm.
that location, because there are homes that have just dead spots,
Mm-hmm.
and you want to be cautious that you're able to get a signal to begin with. But again, I think it's always important. Again, if you find yourself in a situation where it's just uncomfortable, to or even from the beginning, just say, hey, let me excuse myself in advance. I need a, you know uh, my husband's supposed to come meet me, or my significant other, or my
Mm-hmm.
my partner agent's going to come, and I just need to send them a quick text or something. And if you need to call 911, just something so you could send it, and include whatever information you can in there to the extent possible. I don't care sometimes about making someone feel uncomfortable, as long as you could think of a way to do it tactfully,
Mm-hmm.
uh, not to create more concern. But a predator wants to be in control of the situation. So the more you kind of disrupt that pattern, and maybe again with lights and windows, especially front facing, and again, the more that you're not in a position where you're putting yourself in a vulnerable state or letting your guard down, like again by letting them follow you, or wanting you to go upstairs with them, or things
Mm-hmm.
like that, then the more you're in control, then the better odds that you'll be okay and you'll come out should something happen.
Wonderful. Great. Thank you for that. Um, what is your message, Sheriff Gonzalez, to current and prospective residents of Harris County in regard to public safety? What is something that you want current residents and prospective residents to know?
Yeah, for me, I think that I do believe that law enforcement is working very hard to address the crime concerns in the community. I know for me personally, it's my North Star. There's efforts being made, although incrementally, to really deal with the backlogs in the court systems. We're starting to see, not as fast as I would like to see it, but we are starting to see at least a glimmer of light at the end of the tunnel, where cases are starting to move. So now that
Mm-hmm.
maybe we've gotten past a lot of that the issues with COVID and everything happening, that we'll start to get a better handle on crime. not having people out on bonds for extended period of time. I know there's been a lot of focus on repeat offenders getting out so easily. Hopefully, we could see some changes in that as well, just to bring more accountability, more swift trials, and things like that.
Mhm.
So hopefully, as we get a better handle on crime, that things will be moving in a better direction. Those that live here, I think it's important to know that again, it's about situation awareness. A lot of crime, unfortunately, we can't prevent sometimes. Some, it's a lot about just using, just some basic common sense. Try to be aware of what you would do in some type of road rage incident, for example, of
Mhm.
not escalating that conflict any further, just kind of pulling yourself out as quickly as you can.
Mhm.
Domestic violence situations, like I said, are very prevalent. Start seeking information, get help. Make sure it's something that you could speak about, even in office environments. I know it's always difficult, but it's important to, um, have conversations that if anything happens, we're here to support one another, and these are
Mhm.
resources and information to give others. We also offer, as well as many agencies, how to survive some type of active event or active shooter type event.
Mhm.
It's always good whether for an office environment, like what to do if there's some type of workplace issue
Mhm.
that becomes violent, as well as out in the community that you just happen to be out in a showing or on about, and there you encounter some type of active shooter. How to survive that, how to make sure that you're resilient. We could provide some of that training as well to HAR and its members as well. I've heard really good feedback of it. We've done it in office environments and schools and things like that.
Mhm.
And so those, I would say, look, Houston, the greater Houston region, because I say Houston, but it covers so much,
Mhm.
but all the surrounding counties, it's a great place to work, live, and play. It's a diverse community. We're seeing the economy continue to um, evolve as years go on. Obviously, we used to be oil and gas. We have now a lot more. We're seeing tremendous growth in the medical center that's going to
Mhm.
bring so many new professionals into the area in the biosciences and nanotechnology and all that. We have several major colleges. We have a robust community college system. We're seeing now in the greater Clear Lake area where we're seeing the beginnings and growth of the space tourism industry as well, where a lot of
Mhm.
businesses will come there. We purposely, back when I was on city council, helped develop that as a hub for a commercial spaceflight in the future and what it's going to look like. And Houston tapping into that brain power that's there with NASA and as the space program continues to evolve. So there's many buckets of great stuff happening. We have
Mhm.
two international airports. Not many cities can claim that. And believe it or not, someone once told me as we were grappling with should we make Hobby an international airport as well at the time because there were issues of competition and airlines and some didn't want it and things like that. But believe it or not, that airport professional told me at the time I was mayor pro tem. He goes, Mayor pro tem, you don't know, but we should really be thinking about a third regional airport already for the greater Houston Harris County area because we're so big, and we see
Mhm.
even like the cruise tourism is growing in Galveston again, and things are starting to
Mhm.
come back, and so I mean, there's just so much going on, and I think. Houston will be at the hub of that. We're centrally located because our geography, warm weather almost all year. Sometimes that's good, sometimes not so good. I don't think we got the memo that the fall had started this week. It's still pretty hot out there,
Mhm.
but again, it's still such a great city. And look, we know that sometimes. And the other thing too, when we talk like issues of human trafficking or crime, I think it's also important to know it's because we also advertise it quite a bit. We want our community to be prepared and safe, and we
Mhm.
want them to know what's going on and not live under a rock. So sometimes these issues become more prevalent because we do promote it much more through social media and everything. So everything becomes amplified, and there's a
Mhm.
fear that crime is a concern. But we definitely don't want to develop a reputation, or at least a sustainable reputation, that somehow we're some type of crime magnet. I don't
Mhm.
think that's accurate. There should be concerns. We're dealing with it, but I think that better days are ahead. And I think that it's important to know that Houston will continue to be a thriving market. And I think that it's something that we all need to work together to make sure it stays that way long into the future.
Wonderful. That's such a great point. Awareness versus just alert of an immediate issue. So, and raising that awareness and just making our citizens more aware of what is happening within our region. I think that's really important. So, thank you for doing that. There was a
One more thing
question.
too.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'll be real brief. As I
Sure.
was thinking about the conversation this morning with you, and again, my past relationship with HR, and understanding how dangerous the profession can be, that you serve in, your members serve in. I really want to see if we could, outside of this conversation, brainstorm and seeing if we could maybe do a more focused program so that your members can have a regular interaction with law enforcement, maybe more direct numbers, so that we could work together, because you're also the eyes and ears out there many times. And if you do see these situations with squatters, instead of just calling 911 and waiting
Mm-hmm.
for a delayed response, because it may not be an imminent situation,
Right.
that we could just cut through some of that red tape, get you straight to people that could help, that you become a direct partner to law enforcement, not only for your own safety, but that we could work with you to give information. Make sure that when you do send a text and you identify as a realtor, that we've educated and trained our dispatchers that that needs to become a priority, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so these are things that really got my creative juices going this morning. I'm surprised we don't have anything, or there isn't something like that more established, considering the
Mm-hmm.
importance of this, and so it's something that I'll circle back and see what else we could do to make sure we're working more closely with you when it comes to issues of safety, that we're looking at communities and seeing any crime concerns that you may need to be aware of. And we want to be a partner with you. We could do any kind of
Mm-hmm.
meetups, where we get to know one another as well. Some of your professionals say, hey, these are some of the
Mm-hmm.
deputies in your area, and these are some of the realtors that, because we know that sometimes there's areas of specialization, and the more we could all get to know each other, the better it is.
That's wonderful, and we would love that. So thank you for that suggestion. And if you don't follow up with us, I'm sure we will follow up with you on
We'll follow
that.
up together.
Yes, wonderful. And there was just a comment from the HAR account. I don't know if you know this, Sheriff Gonzalez, but we have 49,000 HAR members, so that is 98,000 additional eyes on the streets for you.
Yeah. No, and it makes sense. We've worked with hotels and motels in the past on issues around human trafficking,
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes obviously these crimes occur on their properties. So we've worked with them, and even just even cable companies we've worked with before, because they're out there installing cable and they see things, and we know there may be safe houses out there that are occurring, and we want to make sure we're getting information in a safe way, that's discreet and everything, and we could help one another, or that we also let alerts. It's something we're trying to improve on, so that we could maybe share with you more directly, specific to the industry,
Mm-hmm.
that might be issues of concerns for you, so that you could know as you're going to a neighborhood. And I know that sometimes you may be asked, hey, how's crime in this neighborhood?
Mm-hmm.
And you at least say, hey, we work very closely with the police department. This is who serves this neighborhood. That we could give you some information that may be additional talking points as you're trying to close that big sale.
Wonderful. That was actually leading me right into the next question, which is where can our members find the most accurate and up to date crime statistics for Harris County?
Yeah, again, unfortunately, historically, in policing, we haven't always been the best at mining our data in terms of data mining,
Yeah.
and having user-friendly dashboards, if you will. I know the
Mm-hmm.
Houston Police Department has one. We have a public dashboard as well that could be accessed through our website. But that's something that we still need to get better at.
Mm-hmm.
We are becoming more of an analysis driven agency. And so I'll work with our crime analysis section and seeing what link we could best give you that would give that information. And then, especially again, if you want more of a macro view of these are raw numbers, large numbers, or if
Mm-hmm.
you want more specific areas as well, we could try to narrow it down for you or some of your members. We could find a way to better do that. That way, you always have good information on hand in terms of suspicious activity or things we're seeing in certain neighborhoods, because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we do get to that micro level, and then you could know, like, you're out there and we happen to be looking for some sexual predator in the area, and you have no clue, like that
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't be a good thing. And so we want to make sure that we are giving you that information. So let me find a maybe what link we could give to you
Yeah.
and your members that you could better access information. The challenge is because information is so fragmented.
Hmm.
Agencies report kind of their own statistics and information. We don't have a global one, but it's
Hmm.
something that we can try to get information to you.
That would be wonderful. Thank you. Laverne asked a question. How do you find the closest law enforcement in an unincorporated area?
Yeah, in an unincorporated area, again, we would probably it would probably be the Harris County Sheriff's Office that would handle that.
Hmm.
We have five primary stations all throughout. Uh, in far, West Houston in the Katy area, in Northwest, it's off the kind of 290, 249. Then we're out in the Will Clayton area in the
Hmm.
Humble area near Bush Airport. And then we also have in East Harris County off Wallaceville near Wood Forest as
Hmm.
well, where we're situated, and then North Harris County, which is off uh, 1960 as well. So it's always good to know that, just so that you could know kind of a safe place to go to. But again, that's something that we could probably map out something for you so that you could. But because there's so many other agencies, again, that you may be actually closer to. Even the police departments have uh, offices, and so do the community colleges and things like that. So as long as you get familiar with what agencies may be in close proximity, that may be helpful to you as well.
Okay, very good. Um, we really look forward to working with you for some solutions because, as you mentioned, some of these crimes and the areas it's so fragmented, and we have had many members that have been targeted, in person via phone. So it would be wonderful to work further with you to help maybe get some additional resources for both you and for us and our members. So we're looking forward to that.
Yeah, and it needs to be something again that we could develop some protocols to really make sure that we prioritize those cases because your profession is very important and your safety is very important, and because you are prone to maybe becoming a target again. And when that does happen, these could be more serious crimes because the
Hmm.
experience, these are not just random. It's somebody that spotted your sign somewhere and is now wanting to target you, and they have time to premeditate and
Hmm.
think through it a little bit. Could be deadly, and so we want to make sure that we're working with you in real time. And sometimes what happens in law enforcement is you may report it, but it's just kind of handled like one more report in a stack of
Hmm.
unfortunate reports that we have. And so that may get lost in the information, or maybe our deputies, we also need to train them to be very specific on the information they obtain so we could have actionable leads to follow up on. And
Hmm.
that we can make sure that we come up with a safety plan to better protect you, not only if it's just a case that's being investigated, so you could have some key things that you could do for your own safety, and maybe even work on some basic self defense classes that we put
Hmm.
on. Our program's called RAD,
Hmm.
and other agencies offer it as well. But just some basic protection never hurts, not only in
Hmm.
your professional life, but even just personal life as well, coming out of a store or something like that.
Wonderful. Well, I know we are coming to the end of our time with you, Sheriff Gonzalez, but is there anything else that you would like to share with our audience today?
No, just thank you so much. I'm a big fan of the profession. It's one I've followed many years. I've dabbled a little bit in real estate in my lifetime, and it's just a personal passion of mine. I hope to be able to get back into it, perhaps as an investor at some point. But I have the utmost respect for the profession. Again, having worked at times with HR over the years of my professional life, and it's one that I value a great deal. And also, I understand, again, when you look at the numbers, the number of agents that you have out there and brokers and offices, you're out there in the front lines.
Hmm.
You're out there doing important work to promote our city and attract people here and create home ownership. I always say the more that people could buy a home, the more they're vested in communities. An active community is a safe community. We know we have a community that has a lot of apartment dwellers, and that's fine. That's an important one.
Hmm.
But we also want people to have home ownership where they could be vested into communities and not have vacant homes and a lot of foreclosures and things like that, and things that just are prone to maybe deteriorate market values and communities and things like that. So we all have a vested interest to make sure we're creating thriving communities and safe communities, and you're at the front of that. You contribute a lot to our local economy, our state economy as well. And so just thank you for what you do every day. And I look forward to reconnecting at some point in the future conversation.
Absolutely. Well, again, thank you so much for your time this morning. Our members are thanking you in the comments, saying great information. So they truly appreciated your time and all of the amazing tips that you shared to keep them safe when they're out working. So again, we really appreciate you.
Thank you so much. One final tip as we sign off is also it's good to have a code word sometimes if you do have to call someone like a family member that you're like, yeah, I'm out here on Mayday Lane or something that they know that something is off that that they know like let me start heading in that direction. Something's off, you know. And
That's a
so it's
yeah.
something that you may want to do as well if text isn't an option and you have to call or you have the opportunity to call to just give a code or something that somebody would know, a coworker or a family member would know something's off. I know what location because you had already provided a location to them, hopefully before, but that way there could be some awareness that something may be off and you're reporting it.
Excellent tip. Well, thank you again so much for your time this morning. That is it for this Member Focus Monday. We will be back next Monday at 9 a.m. and we're going to discuss everything that you need to know to vote in the upcoming elections and how to help get your clients and customers registered to vote. So be sure to tune in next Monday at 9 a.m. Again, Sheriff Gonzalez, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Christina.
Have a great week, everyone. Bye-bye.